Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about graphing quadratic from standard form. So the problem we're going to do today is y equals x squared minus 2x minus 7. So first we're going to try to find the axis of symmetry. So the formula we're going to be divided by 2a. And so I'm going to go ahead and take my numbers from this equation here and plug it into here. So this is my a, and this is my b, and this is c. So because the negative 2 is already a negative, it will become a positive because two negatives cancel and make a positive. That's going to be 2 divided by 2 times 1. So 2 divided by 2 is equal to 0. So our axis of symmetry will be along the y-axis here. I'm just placing it next to it just so you could see it, but it would be right on top of this line here. So now we're going to go ahead and try to find our vertex. So in order to do that, we are going to focus on negative 2x minus 7. So we are going to do negative 2 and then times it by 0 because that's what we previously got for our axis of symmetry, and then we're going to half it. So we're going to divide it by 2 and then we're going to do minus 7. So negative 2 times 0 is 0, and then 0 divided by 2 is 0. So 0 minus 7, it's just going to be negative 7. So our vertex is going to be 0, negative 7. So we will place our vertex right here. Here, let me put a different color to make it more, make it easier to see. It's still kind of hard to tell, but you see that you can see the point of the vertex. And now you're able to tell if your parabola is opening up or down based off of A. If A is positive, the parabola opens up, and if the A is negative in the equation given to you, then it opens down. So because in our equation here, our A is positive, so we know that our parabola that we're going to graph here is going to open upwards. So now to start plotting the points, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this front piece right here, x squared, and we're going to plug in 1 for the x. So 1 squared is obviously 1. And because you plugged in a 1, you're only going to step over 1. So what I'm saying here is that because we plugged in 1, you're only going to move over 1. And then up 1 because it equaled to 1. Here, let me give you another example. So if we plug in 2 for x, x squared is equal to 4. So because you plugged in 2, when you're graphing the point, you're going to move over 2, and because 2 squared is equal to 4, you're going to go up 4. So let me quickly go ahead and graph those points. Okay, so I went ahead and graphed my points, so that's what your graph should look like. And when you go ahead and graph your parabola, you always want to make sure that it's symmetrical on both sides, or else it is incorrect. So that is problem number 1, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to problem number 2. We're just going to go through the same steps. I'm going to briefly go over it since I went over it in detail in the previous equation. So to find the axis of symmetry, we're going to do negative b divided by 2a, plug in our a, b, c into our equation. So our b is negative 6, so it's going to be positive 6 divided by 2, and then x represents 1, so it's just going to be 1. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. So our axis of symmetry will be along this line here, along the positive 3. So now we're going to go ahead and find our vertex. And in order to do that, you're just going to focus on the negative 6x plus 0. And you're going to go ahead and do negative 6 times 3, and then half it, and then add 0. So negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. Divided by 2 is negative 9, plus 0, it's just going to be negative 9. So our vertex is going to be placed right here, as you can see. And because our a in our equation is positive, our parabola is going to open upwards. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick some points to briefly use here to plug in to be able to plot some more points to create our parabola. So I'm going to use 1 squared, and that's going to be equal to 1, and then 2 squared is 4, then 3 squared is 9. So let me go ahead and plot those points. So there's our finished parabola, and that's what it should look like. So now I'm going to do one last equation, and then we'll be done. So here's problem number 3. Negative, in parentheses, x minus 3 to the power of 2. And so all you have to do is go ahead and do x minus 3 times x minus 3 in parentheses and FOIL it. So I went ahead and did that already to save us some time. So that's going to be negative x squared plus 6x minus 9. So we're going to go ahead and find the axis of symmetry. And so you use the same formula, negative b divided by 2a. And because it is a positive 6, it will be negative 6. And then 2 times negative 1, because our x is negative, is equal to 3. So our axis of symmetry will be here along the positive 3. And we know that our parabola, once we start finding the vertex and the points, will open down because the a is negative. So I'm going to go ahead and find the vertex. So we're going to go ahead and just look at 6x minus 9. So 6 times 3 divided by 2 minus 9 is equal to, so 6 times 3 is 18, divided by 2 is 9. So then 9 minus 9 will be 0. So our vertex will be 3, 0. So let me go ahead and plot that point right here. So it's going to open down because the a is negative, like I said previously. So I'm going to go ahead and pick some points to plug in to our negative x squared. So I can go ahead and do that quickly so I can get some points together so I could graph it. So because it is 1, I'm going to move to the right and left 1 and go down 1, move to the right and left 2, go down 4, move to the right and left 3, and then go down 9, and you get the idea from there. So let me go ahead and just plot those points here on this graph, and I'll show you once I complete it. Okay, so there is my parabola, and it's pretty much the same steps for all 3 problems. But if you see something like this, where it's just one set of parentheses to the power of 2, just remember to FOIL. I hope this was helpful and useful. I hope you know how to graph quadratics from standard form, and I hope this helped. Thank you for watching. Bye.